Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Traffic Avenue, the show for me and you. Mondays to Fridays, ooh, the Traffic Avenue. Traffic Avenue, the show for me and you. Mondays to Fridays, ooh, the Traffic Avenue.
Flex. Buckle up and join the best. Let's succeed, relieve your stress. So yes, let the music soothe your soul and keep it going just to refresh. Buckle and enjoy the ride from 2 to the half of the 5. Mondays to Fridays, happening live. Where we gon' have a ball, you can text your guys. Let me tell you what you really gotta do. You can count on us, we come through. We got everything you need, that's true. Are you ready for the Traffic Avenue? Let me tell you what you really gotta do. You can count on us, we come through. We got everything you need, that's true. An applause for the Traffic Avenue.
Traffic Avenue, the show for me and you. Mondays to Fridays, ooh, the Traffic Avenue. Traffic Avenue, the show for me and you. Mondays to Fridays, ooh, Traffic.
94, 95, 96, 97.3 Citi FM. It doesn't get any better than that.
Detailed news, unparalleled coverage. City News on 97.3 FM.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
City News.
It's 17:30 GMT. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. I am Umaru Sanda Amadu. Tonight I'm here with
Hawa Idrisu Mustafa.
I'm here tonight with Hawa Idrisu Mustafa, and coming up over the next 90 minutes.
We believe that the lessons have been learned. It was very difficult, very traumatic for the Ghanaian people, for the country, to go through the crisis of 2022.
Ghana's government ends 3-year IMF program on a high note, but will this 17th time be the last time? We'll hear from the experts here on Eyewitness News. Also coming up, the audacity of Galamsey. Illegal miners dig their way into the headquarters of one of the biggest anti-Galamsey campaigners, Arocha, Ghana. We'll be hearing about the situation on the ground. And later on Eyewitness News.
So we are not happy, or any other commission before that put us directly under Jubilee House because we are an independent body.
The lamentations by the president of the National House of Chiefs about the hardship that the chiefs suffer in their line of work. Stay with 97.3 Citi FM for more on this and many other stories on Eyewitness News. And in business,
International Monetary Fund insists fuel relief poses no fiscal risk to Ghana.
That's from the Citi Business Desk. Eyewitness News is live across Ghana on a number of affiliate stations and around the globe on citinewsroom.com. We are interactive around the globe via our WhatsApp platform 0539 986 996 and on X at Umaru Sanda or at Citi973. Use the hashtag Eyewitness News. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. Let me start off with the International Monetary Fund, and I've been joined in studio by the head of business here at Citi FM and Channel 1 Television, Ni Lati. Ni, you're welcome to Eyewitness News.
Thank you very much, Sanda.
So we've known that we've gone under the IMF tutelage or program or guidance for the past 4 years or so. What does today mean?
Well, so it's actually 3 years. We began in 2022 July when the government of Ghana, under the current, the former administration, that's President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, took us to the IMF because at the time we realized that we were having issues with our balance of payment, so we needed some form of support. So we turned to the IMF. At that time, inflation was high, the exchange rate was also shaky, reserves were depleting as a result of, the Russia-Ukraine war as well as COVID-19. At the same time, we realized that the e-levy, which was one of the domestic revenue measures, was performing below target. And so we went to the IMF for some bailout support. Now, this particular bailout support, $3 billion, extended to us under the 3-year extended credit facility. We've received 5 tranches. We are expecting that because of the staff level agreement that has been reached as a result of the 6th and final review, which happened today, we are going to get our last tranche of $360 million.
So the $3 billion has not completely been given.
Yes,
not everything has been given to us yet.
Yes, so we are receiving our last tranche after this particular 6th and final review, $360 million.
But it's not so much about the money we are receiving.
Yes, so whatever we receive goes into budgetary support. And so we are not expecting that we are going to use it from some form of infrastructure development, capital expenditure, or, just to support our budget, which is why the finance minister said today that the 2027 budget does not have any form of external support as it were. But like
what I mean is that it's not about $3 billion. That's why we went to IMF. Really, there's more to it.
Yes, budgetary support to also help us, better some of our conditions in terms of the economy, which is why the government said today that things have actually improved. Now we've seen inflation coming down to 3.4%. Our reserves have gone up more than doubled as compared to the time we went to the IMF, some $7 billion. Today we are talking about in excess of $14 billion, which is more of 5 months of import cover. But like you mentioned, what does this mean? Today, what the government said is that, we know there was a technical extension of the IMF program, which was expected to end earlier this year, but we have gone in for a technical extension, which means that we will fully exit the program come August 2026, all other things being equal.
So there was a press conference today. I want us to hear from the IMF staff team lead, Ruben Atoyan, who spoke. Now they are the ones who are weaning us off. I want us to hear from him first, then we'll hear from our finance minister.
We hope that this signal is going to be well received by the markets.
Yes,
certainly in our meetings with investors, this is something what the markets have been asking, what's coming next after the ECF. So we're very happy that the PCI was considered to be an appropriate instrument for the Ghanaian authorities. In terms of the access to the capital markets, it's a sovereign decision for Ghana. We believe that going forward, based on the fiscal trajectory we have discussed with the government, would be able to finance itself comfortably from domestic markets. We discussed this debt management strategy going forward, and we believe that the resources are available, and the confidence has returned, facilitating recent access to the re-enter to the domestic capital markets, which is an ultimate milestone of the success of the government policy agenda. In our discussion with international investors, we do see a lot of interest in exposure to Ghana. The good story of Ghana has been noticed, and we get bombarded by requests from the investors to meet and talk about Ghana going forward. So whenever the government will decide to re-enter capital markets, certainly the interest will be there, of course conditional on sustained progress in terms of the reforms. What are the lessons learned from the IMF bailout? I think whenever I meet anybody asking questions about Ghana, the question I typically get is this time is going to be different, right? So this is something which is not the question I can answer. I think Minister has given assurances. But let me just say a few words about my reflections on many discussions we have had with Ghanaian authorities. We believe that the lessons have been learned. It was very difficult, very traumatic for the Ghanaian people, for the country, to go through the crisis of 2022. And the pain has been real, and this pain has been internalized. And the reform momentum under the ECF demonstrates that the lessons have been learned on that. Going forward, of course, it's important to continue prudent policies and continue reforms. What ECF has managed is to successfully stabilize the country. But stabilization and resilience are two different things. So focus needs to be on building resilience going forward. And for that, the ultimate objective is not the constraints of the IMF coming from outside, but ultimately the strength of the domestic institutions. And this is what we really try to internalize in terms of the design of the PCI when we discuss it with our counterparts here. And the focus there is not on adjustment, the focus is rather on strengthening domestic institutions, fiscal institutions, financial institutions, to ensure that no contingent liabilities are created outside of the central government, that no quasi-fiscal activities build fiscal risk going forward, that no SOEs pose fiscal risk going forward for the government, which will, when the shock comes, materialize in drain of public financial resources. So this is the focus, and we're quite hopeful that the lesson has been internalized and it will be different this time.
It will be. So that's the IMF staff team lead, Ruben Atoyan, speaking following Ghana's exit of the IMF. Nilati, so I've seen that we have exited, but there's still some 3-year deal that we have with them. What's that about?
So that's the policy coordination instrument, and it's a form of technical assistance or arrangement between the IMF and a country. So what this means is that there isn't going to be any form of additional fund disbursement, which means that money is not going to be disbursed. However, we are going to be under the strict supervision of the IMF for the next 3 years, subject to the same structural benchmarks, same qualitative and quantitative criteria, just like the extended credit facility, to ensure that we sustain the gains that we have achieved so far. And so for the next 3 years, we are still going to be under IMF supervision, but no money is going to be given to us. And so,
is that at our request or is part of the program? Did we request that they should still stay and hold the cane on our head?
So it's an agreement between both the government of Ghana and the IMF, and it is something that any country under the IMF can call in for and say that, well, we've exited the program, we've concluded our bailout package, but we admit that there are some lingering risks, these underlying pressures, we want to tame them. And so how do we do that? Okay. So bring us under your supervision, ensure that we are still fiscally disciplined, we are still going according to what we have said, the reforms, all of these things we have said that we have improved our economy, we want to continue like that. And so it is one of the conditions under the IMF.
Let me hear Dr. Kezla Tufosin, our Minister of Finance. He spoke at the forum as well.
I think it's a chain of three: stability, resilience, and development. Build stability, you build resilience, and then use the resilience to develop. Clearly, the stability is done. We've announced same. It's been confirmed even by the fund. We've built some good resilience, and we are building it continuously. It's now time for us to develop and create jobs, and that is where we are going. And so, in the coming days, we'll be announcing our flagship design called the New Economy, where we'll be looking at areas of development and job creation, and that will be made known to the people of Ghana. But just to be assured that from stability you build resilience, and from resilience you build an economy that will benefit the masses, and that is exactly where we are going. Someone also asked a question as to whether government of Ghana is going to compensate those who suffered haircuts. I do not know the details of the prospectus that was signed, an agreement that was signed between those who suffered, unfortunately, loss of investment. I do not recall that there is something of the sort that calls on the people of Ghana, the Ghanaian government, to give some form of compensation. I think it was not agreed to.
That's Dr. Kezla Tufosin. He is Minister of Finance. Earlier you heard Neil Lati is a head of business here at Citi FM and Channel 1 Television. Let me go on the phone lines and speak to Dr. Theophilus Echampon. He's technical advisor at the Ministry of Finance. Doc, you're welcome to Eyewitness News.
Good evening, Amara. I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you so much for making time to join us. How significant has the presence of the IMF the past 4 years or so been to us?
It's actually been very significant, and don't take it from me. Actually, look at the statement that the fund issued themselves just a few moments ago, and then I like to quote here and then use that to explain the difficult actions that we've had to take and the results of those, actions. But I quote, it says that Ghana's ECF, so this is the Extended Credit Facility Supported Economic Program, has delivered, quote, substantial stabilization gains driven by strong reforms, efforts, and significant progress in debt restructuring, leading to sharply lower inflation, higher external buffers, improved confidence in the city, and marked debt sustainability gains. If you recall, 3-4 years ago, we were in a very, very, very difficult position. And in fact, before Ghana even went to the IMF for the 17th ECF program, some of us then in civil society had actually remarked and said that the place where we were, we should be going to the fund for support. But the then administration delayed in going to the fund, and eventually we got into a position in December of 2022 where we had to declare some form of bankruptcy because we could not service our debt obligations. And then subsequently in May of 2023, we entered into the fund program, which had a number of things that we needed to do. But the most important was really trying to restore macroeconomic stability, trying to bring inflation down, trying to boost our reserves, and position us in a way that we are able to repay our debt. And I am pleased to report that 3 years down the line, on all of the core fiscal indicators and then the macro indicators, whether it is growth, whether it is reserves, whether it is inflation, whether it is in the exchange rate, which is, if not the most important indicator for the kind of economy that we have, all of those things are performing quite strongly, and we are now in a position where we have built the stabilization that we need, and we have moved from crisis to consolidation, and really the next phase of the reform effort now becomes how you sustain those gains and then translate it into what my minister said this afternoon in the press conference, under the new economy, how you create jobs, how you translate that into productivity, and how you translate that into inclusive economic development.
Our agreement for them to stay 3 more years, is it because we don't trust ourselves that we'll become reckless as soon as they leave based on our history? Because in the past, as soon as they pack baggage and leave, we become reckless, especially in election years. Why did we decide to have them around?
No, not at all. Not at all that we don't trust ourselves. I think what this is really helping us to do is to support some of the reform efforts that, we are undertaking. So, especially from the market sort of angle, where everyone was basically asking, so beyond the gains that you've made, how do we ensure that you translate that and sustain, these nice macro fiscal numbers that we've done? So you have really, in a post-program framework, the potential for such a program. And this is important here, that we are not borrowing money from them. So this is not a bailout. What you're actually doing is allowing them to come in to sort of allow you to leverage and get that catalytic effect. So if you're thinking about future access to the capital markets, if you're thinking about, getting additional multilateral financing, if you're thinking about, additional support for your budget from bilaterals and other donors, then really being within a program such as the PCI, which is not giving you money, and you are implementing reforms that you would have done anyway, is giving you an anchor that allows you to actually signal strongly to the market that you are committed to the discipline and you are committed to ensuring that the reform agenda that is left, the reform agenda with your state-owned enterprises, the reform agenda with ensuring that your monetary and exchange rate frameworks deliver even more, the reform agenda on diversification and inclusive growth, all are deployed, and you deliver them within the fiscal constraints or the targets that you set for yourself. So it is not that we do not trust ourselves. It's really giving you an additional anchor to implement the reforms that you would have done anyway. Now, the 3 billion that they go with, or which they gave us the past 3 to 4 years, the money, we are going to take the last tranche. However, we need that monetary support, don't we? What will be the alternative? Do we have to go and tax the people, or we are at a proper footing where we may not need another injection of so much money, which is an external support? Good question, Umaru. So, like I said, we are not taking any money from the IMF under the policy coordination instrument. So it is not a bailout, number one. Number two, we have not gone to them in a crisis situation like we did in 2022, 2023, and had to implement very, very painful, adjustments, some of which resulted in the domestic debt exchange, and we saw people picketing at the Ministry of Finance, and and even died, right, as a result of those, the DDF and other reforms that were undertaken. This time around, we are in a much, much better position. So the buffers are up, the reserves are near 6 months, levels. The IMF's own assessment is that you need just about 3 months, right, of reserves. Number two, you have additional revenue inflows that is coming in as a result of what you're getting from the gold side and even the oil side, right, as well. So the money that they are bringing in, which is the last tranche under the current program, the ECF, that's just, I think, around $300 or so million. That money is not what is going to radically change the Ghanaian economy. Okay. Going forward, under the PCI, we are not taking any money at all from the fund. We are working with them to implement reforms that already we're doing and trying to deepen, especially when it comes to the state-owned enterprises, and then when it comes to other metrics on debt sustainability and then inclusive growth and economic diversification. Can we hit our chests now and say never again? We are not going to IMF ever, 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 ever. I think what the president and the authorities have indicated really is that if you don't want to go to the IMF again, then you have to do the hard work. So the rephrase to the question you really asked is that what takes us to the IMF every 3.5 years? We've been there 17, 18 times since we became independence. Every 3.5 years, literally, we have been going to the fund. And if you look at what sends us to the fund, it is the issue of indiscipline, economic indiscipline and economic mismanagement. And what we are doing under the program, under the reform agenda, under the reset agenda, is really build the fundamentals. And, anytime you talk to my boss and the other sort of bosses in here, what is our watchword really is prudence, 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 prudence. The things that we need to do, the hard reforms that we need to do to anchor and sustain the discipline is being done. And then some of the other reforms, like setting up the value for money office to check on, some of the contract inflation, setting up the fiscal council to check compliance with the debt rule and then the primary surplus rule, implementing reforms at the state-owned enterprises to reduce the contingent liabilities and then the exposures that they pose to the budget. So if you take like ECG, if you take, for example, the cocoa sector, all that work is being done. And if you do those things and you do them right and you entrench the discipline, then you don't need to go to the IMF at all. So the fundamental issue is to address the mismanagement and the indiscipline issues that leads us to the fund. Right. And we are saying that if you do that, you wouldn't need to go to the fund to look for any bailout. Thank you so much. With the current program, what has been announced, we are not going there for a bailout at all.
Thank you so much, Doc, for your time.
Thank you.
That's Dr. Theophilus Echampong. He's technical advisor at the Ministry of Finance. Let's speak to someone who once headed the ministry in political capacity as a deputy, and even before then played another role some 20 years ago at the Ministry of Finance. He's member of Parliament for Boise West, and he's also chairman of the Budget Committee of Parliament. The Honorable Kweku Kwatin, former Deputy Finance Minister. You're welcome to Eyewitness News.
Thank you, and good evening to your listeners.
Good evening to you. How are you feeling tonight hearing that we have exited the IMF program on a very high note?
Well, I think as a country we should be proud that we have been able to complete this program successfully. It could have been worse. We could have derailed. But on this occasion, as it has been in the last, if you like, 16 appearances, we have exited the program successfully. So we should be proud about that.
Now,
but
where are the buts? That's what I was going to ask.
Well, not necessarily a but. I mean, we have completed and we should be happy. But if you remember that if you have structural adjustment program and HIPIC, we have sought development partner assistance 19 times. And each time we complete such a program, the kind of things we're hearing now are said again and again and again. A lot of the things I heard today at the joint press conference are things that have been said again and again. But you can't understand the IMF. They are international civil servants. You give them work when you run your economy aground, and you go back to them for support. That is why they are there. As a country, I think this is the time to have a bipartisan discussion about how we do not go to the IMF again. You see, it's very easy to say the indiscipline will stop and that we would be more prudent with resources. It doesn't mean anything unless you are clear in your mind the reforms that you are doing to ensure that the past is not repeated. And look, there are very major things we need to do. The wage reforms. The wage bill has always been a big item in our expenditure profile. What are the reforms to ensure that we rein that in? There are a whole number of things that I think, a whole number of reforms that I think government must pursue, but it would be easier if government could sincerely engage with the opposition, especially now that the opposition MPP, we have our flag bearer. I would hope that there's a sincere gesture towards the opposition to agree on some specific reform that we would do as a country. And it should be done in open, so we know who will be sincere and who will not be sincere. If we agree on such a roadmap for reforms, and I suggest this kind of engagement because if you decide, as we should, that if you go on strike, whether you're a member of parliament who say you have an issue so you are not attending parliament, or you're a civil servant who for some reason you embark on an illegal strike, we should withhold your salary. Now, you can't do that unless there's political consensus, because what government wants is to have a banter with Labour, and the opposition is taking the side of Labour, and the natural instinct of the politician is that the votes are going away. Then we develop cold feet for the reforms, and then we are back to square one. I think there ought to be that engagement, and we need to ask ourselves as a people that if we're always going to have to go back to the IMF, then what future are we building? And if government will take these steps, and as I indicated, I don't know, maybe the Peace Council may want to mediate. And I'm a member of the opposition. I'm a member of parliament on the minority side. I will wholeheartedly support such an initiative. If government will take those steps, I think as opposition, we should also be sincere, open up, engage with government, and let us all agree on the specific reform that we will do to rein in expenditure once and for all. If we don't do that, the usual suggestions of we will be more disciplined and they have never the program with us will not get anywhere. We have heard that 19 times.
I actually like your more statesmanly approach to a lot of issues lately, and it's really exciting to hear your commitment that you're making. But politics would always be in the room, and it is someone's failure that gives someone else a success, especially political success. So I do not know. I mean, you have made a commitment, but I don't know how easy it would be to get everybody around the table. I want to take you back to the issue of the wage bill that you talked about. 70% or so, the wage bill consumes that much. Should we encourage people to take, a pay cut to keep us stable? And these people should be led with an example of the people in high office taking a pay cut, for instance, where we reduce the number of vehicles we buy, the cost of vehicles and all of that. Is that something that will be possible based on everything you know this country to be?
Okay, before I answer that, you see the point you made about your politics progresses if your political opponents fail. I think we as politicians have developed that mindset because of the way the media and the people behave. If we would now say, as a people, that it is the political party that presents a patriotic face, even if you are in opposition, in order that we would give you the mandate, you must demonstrate that you are not going to jubilate over government failures, which will hurt we the voters, which will help us the voters, and then you want to turn around and get us to vote for you. If the media can shape public opinion in this way, the politician would always look at what the voter wants. And so I throw it back at you that we can't assume that one politician's failure is good for their political opponent, so that is how it's going to be. In that case, then the discussion we're having is unnecessary because it's always going to be the same. But I think we can change that. Now, to the wage reforms, look, it should go far more than pay cuts, and no, that's not the biggest issues confronting us. We should begin to look at how we get people living into the public sector generally, but also the civil, within the civil servants. The engagement processes, the need we establish before we do that. I have heard many times that Ghana's public service has more people than we should. We should look at best practices. What is the number of civil servants or public servants you need per capita? But given our population and our economy, what is best practice? And let us target a movement towards that. That's the first point. The second is that, look, we must see the things that we don't need. We must even, as Parliament, ask ourselves whether we need 276 members of Parliament. And if there's a need for reforms, why? We can slash it to 200. It won't collapse this country. Now, this is the kind of hard work that we should do. And then also, I indicated that there's a culture in this country where people think they can go on strike and then they will be paid. So you have workers staying at home for more than a month, and not only do they get paid, they also get paid their transportation allowance when they were sitting at home. And why would a politician do that? Because you want to protect the votes. And it's all about votes. That's why I'm saying that it ought to be a bipartisan effort. And let's say that going forward, if you are an MP, you absent yourself from Parliament because you have some political grievance against government, that is okay. That's part of democracy. But since you did not work that day, they should compute that day's salary and take it off your salary. Even if it is a token, it sends the signal that we are not serious about building our country. And it is the same for civil servants. Most of the strikes we have seen in this country are illegal. And yet they sit at home and they just can withdraw services. And then as soon as they resume, they collect their salaries full. So there's always a motivation. These are the kind of changes we should bring to the public sector. And I'm confident that Ghanaians were smart enough to be able to do this. And if we'll do that, then we are confident that we are not going back to the IMF.
Thank you so much for speaking to us, sir.
Thank you, too.
That's Honorable Kweku Kwatin. He's chairman of the Budget Committee of Parliament and MP for Obuasi West, MPP MP that is. He served as Deputy Minister of Finance in the first term of the Akufo-Addo administration, and also worked at the Ministry of Finance during the Kufuor administration. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. When we return, we hear from the House of Chiefs the allowances given them for the work they do, woefully inadequate, they say. We'll be hearing from the President.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Your attention, please. Flight C8 has been delayed.
Again. Madam, can you please point me to the water fountain? And please watch my back and phone whilst I'm gone.
You can be a traveler with infinite worries.
Hello, Mr. Anand. Your lounge access is ready and your seat is warm.
Or you can be a traveler with infinite privileges.
Champagne, sir?
The region or the drink.
Choose EcoBank's infinite privileges with an EcoBank Visa Infinite card. Access airport lounges worldwide, fast-track services, best-in-class daily limits, and enjoy other exclusive travel and lifestyle benefits. Infinite privileges await. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
Charlie, trim I'm nice. I get some serious meeting. Allah, motion. But Charlie, no credit today. Oh, but you relax. Momo day.
Hey, what funny.
Yes, so I borrow small, sort myself out, I pay back. We move. Spot there. Ah, Charlie, you sure say you pay back? Yes, so that anytime somebody else they need them, Momo day. Be like I for can't borrow some more. Hey, you this boy. Don't go there and disgrace yourself. Allah, motion.
Responsible borrowing be the real flexo for today's needs and tomorrow's dreams. Borrow, sort them, pay back. Momo day.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
Yeah, welcome back. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. Abi National in Wa sends a message and it says, President Mahama's good governance has just begun. This is the time for Ghanaians to support him to change Ghana for the better. Zilis Dwayne in London says, Ghana will be great again. So far, so good. Akasokri Joseph says, Monday should be a holiday in honor of President John Mahama in this second term. He promised never to go to IMF and true to his word. Congratulations to Ghana on this achievement. Never again should this great country mortgage its development to institutions outside of this mineral and human resource-rich continent. Akapo Jr. Navomim says the government must end the ploy to beat about the bush in its attempt to end the Galamsey menace. The solution is to declare a state of emergency and the government must heed to the clarion call of Ghanaians. Aziz Donlainwa says, IMF is finally gone and our economy is back on track. Certainly, this shows how better the economy is being managed. Indeed, the economic indicators have significantly improved and we must keep track of our economic performance. Government spending must be maintained and checked for the benefit of citizens, mostly the youth. Wales Yoga in Abutiateti in the Volta region says, the NDC-led administration deserves commendations for successfully guiding Ghana out of the IMF. This milestone fosters economic independence, encourages local investment, and boosts confidence in our financial systems. By reducing reliance on external institutions, we can focus on sustainable growth and empower local enterprises, leading to job creation and overall economic stability for our nation. Send your message to 0539 986 996 0539 986 996. This other message from Sir Law in Adenta. He says, the former Deputy Finance Minister spoke as a true statesman. That's in reference to the Honorable Kweku Kwatin. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. Let's talk now about the National House of Chiefs. And the National House of Chiefs has proposed to be placed directly under the presidency at the Jubilee House, arguing that its current administrative arrangement under a government ministry undermines its constitutional independence and effectiveness. The call was made during a courtesy call on the House by the Parliamentary Select Committee on Chieftaincy, Culture and Religious Affairs. Let's speak now to the President of the National House of Chiefs, Ojiahoho Yao JB II. He's joined us on the line. Nana, you're welcome to Eyewitness News.
Good evening. Thank you very much.
How are you doing, sir, and your traditional
I'm
area?
doing very well, and in my traditional area, everything is cool here. The weather is also good this evening.
Great. Before I even talk to you about this issue you're raising, your traditional area is a gold mining area,
yes,
isn't it?
And there are 4 mining companies in my small traditional area.
Well, have your people benefited from mining of gold?
I wish you were there. Next time I'll arrange to fly you to this state and then pick you from Kumasi and come here. Not very much, not much.
You are in Western North or Western?
I'm in northern, Western North. Precisely, the head of our traditional area is Hiamiaso, and the administrative head is Bibiani.
So Bibiani and Wiasu Bekwai. That's the name I know generally in that area.
The name of the municipality is Bibiani and Wiasu Bekwai. Bekwai is another traditional area, but we are not very, very large traditional area.
Now, I'm asking this because I have heard elsewhere that one of the mining giants in that area, the lease is ended and they may be packing out very soon.
It's louder.
If you can hear me, I'm hearing that one of the mining giants in your area, the 30-year or so lease that has been given them has expired and they are renegotiating. Now, people often talk about the lack of development in these mining areas. As someone who has lived and seen the mining companies do what they do over the decades, what do you think can be done for your people to benefit from the rich resources of that area?
Thank you very much. I think it is now clearly becoming a case for any area where nature has endowed it with resources. Why do I say that? We have Asante Gold Bibiani at Bibiani. We have Asante Gold at Chirano. We have Awaso Bauxite, and another one is coming, another mining company. And specifically to your question, have my people benefited? No. For example, Asante Gold is in its 5th year right now. Call them and find out what development project that they have implemented in the area. Well, some jobs have been given to people, but it is our expectation that they could give proper training to work in the mining and mining-related areas. So as far as I'm concerned, we have hospitals, we have schools. So you ask them if they have made any meaningful contribution for the development of these schools.
Okay. I'm sure this is a conversation we can have at a later time more extensively. Let's now speak about the House of Chiefs that you had.
Okay, you are now shifting from...
Yes, I want to come back. I want to come back to the main reason we called
Don't worry, let's go there. Let's go to House of Chiefs.
Nana, how important is the National House of Chiefs in the scheme of things for the Republic of Ghana?
In the first place, local governance is traditional development. Before the white men came, the men were in control, handling local issues here and there. But because of so-called democracy and so on and so forth, we needed people who devote their whole time to governance. That is why now we have parties, and then we have regional ministers, we have ministers, we have assembly concept, and so on and so forth. So it is because chieftaincy is significant. That is why the 1992 Constitution recognizes as an independent body. In fact, the fabric of Ghana rests on chieftaincy. And in every community, however small it is, there is a chief. So that the relevance of a chieftaincy, and then from the traditional area, you go to the regional houses of chiefs. From the regional house of chiefs, we have the national house of chiefs, where each of the 16 regions is represented by 5 delegates who are elected from the respective regions, and so making the whole house 80. And of the 80, a president, a vice president are also elected.
Okay, now what? So do you deal with matters bordering on chieftaincy only, or there is some role of national development that when the House of Chiefs meet, you take, and this you convey to government?
Yes, apart from chieftaincy, we also, because the Constitution says the Nanum should not get involved in active partisan politics, but they can also contribute in other areas that they are ordinarily qualified to do. And that is why some of us serve on boards. And apart from that, we also organize our people. From time to time, we engage companies. And from time to time, we also organize educative programs for our people. So yes, every aspect of human development will find you there.
Okay, now you said you want to be put under the office of the president. Why?
Indeed, our aim, our target is to be independent. But we know this process will take some time. And that is why, in the meantime, put us under His Excellency, so that we have a liaison who will liaise between the Nanum and the head of the executive directly. In fact, in the colonial area that existed, then under PNDC, we had Nana Akuo-Sapon. Then from there, when we came to the PNDC and NDC, when we came to Kufuor, it was under Kufuor's time that a ministry was created. And from there, it came to NDC, and from NDC, the last one, MPP, where we also had a ministry. Right now, we have been attached to the Minister of Local Government. So we are losing our relevance. We are losing our independence. We're independent. And Umaru, if you remember, anytime ministers are talking, they tell you that the troubles that we are having, all the security disturbances that we have, about 70% of them are attributed to chieftaincy. We don't accept it, but granting that is even correct. Why is it so? We cannot take action immediately because we don't have budget allocated to us. No budget. If we need something, that then must come from the ministry. So we also go to the ministry. So if, for example, 2 villages, that's a looming conflict, instead of sending chiefs there to mediate and quell the disturbances, we sit down until it is escalated before government comes in, and government comes to blame anonymous. So we want complete independence, where there will be budgetary allocation, and we'll be able to manage the chieftaincy institution and help governance effectively in this country.
Okay, now the minister and ministry is the agent for the president. So if you feel neglected working under the president's ministry or minister, then I don't know how you would be successful under the presidency directly, because you will still be put under a staffer who may have less power, for instance, than a minister. Don't you think so?
Wherever we are put, there's some form of political interference. But we have worked with the liaison group, just as I mentioned, Rana Akuo-Sapon. That time was better. When Mr. S.K. Boafo was also a liaison, that was also better. But as soon as we create a ministry, it creates a lot of problems for us. It means you subjugate dependency to the minister. This particular one, we are just an agent. In fact, the minister is very nice, the minister is good, but until resources are allocated to him, he cannot transfer same to us. For example, until we are being given money, we can't hold meetings. We can't do anything. And if I can tell you, we are in the second quarter or so, second quarter is ending. We haven't received anything, allocation. So we can't meet. So if there are problems anywhere, if there are judicial cases anywhere, how do we handle them? And then when two people have issues and they go to court, they don't pay money. There's a judge who is paid, they only bring their witnesses, and that's their lawyer. But in the National House of Chiefs, because we are not well resourced, we ask litigants to make deposits. Otherwise, we cannot handle the case. So when the deposit paid is exhausted, then Nananum will have to wait until the litigants can raise more money. Of course, occasionally, government gives us some subvention, but it is woefully inadequate.
So I heard you mention the allowances. So you are not on salary. You are on allowances when you do.
We are on allowance.
And you are saying that it is inadequate. Currently, how much is a chief paid to attend the National House of Chiefs?
In Ghana, paramount chief in Ghana is giving, for that one, let me praise the current government. It used to be 1,000, and they've increased it to 3,000 Ghana cedis per month. But when you take this one off, and you go to the National House of Chiefs or the Regional Houses of Chiefs, that is where they send allocations. And until the allocations are sent, we cannot hold meetings. In the National House of Chiefs, for example, as president of the National House of Chiefs, I am paid 300 Ghana cedis as certain allowance, and I pay tax on it.
And this is you moving from your small village to Kumasi, where the House of Chiefs meet.
I'll come to the TNT.
Okay.
Good. This is the certain allowance, where some people get 5,000, 10,000, some people take dollars in this country. Then from there, hotel in Kumasi is 300 across board. Every member, assuming all the 80 members attend the meeting, each one of them will be given 300 cedis per night. And Sandra, you realize that every chief has a driver and at least one attendant. Are they catered for? No. It's the chief who must give them accommodation and feed them. Then the TNT, yes, it depends upon the region where you come from. From Western North, we are giving 700. But let us look at somebody from Bolga and Wa. They have the highest, about 1,200. And most of them use V8. And they cover about 14 hours journey from Bolga to Kumasi. And the V8, 1,002 will not even be enough to bring that person to Kumasi. But this time, I'm talking about in and out. In and out. There's another example where, let me mention his name, specifically. Kumbuna is in his 80s. So he flies from Tamale to Accra, and then flies from Accra to Kumasi, and then go back to the same route by air. And as the custom of the North exists, he has to bring in about 8 or 10 people, and they also occupy about 2 vehicles, and they come to meet him in Kumasi. So let me take even my case, where I have only a driver and a security man or an attendant. Why do you give me 300 cedis? For what? To Kumasi, and which hotel? Which guest house pays the 300 cedis a night? Hello?
I've heard you.
You know Kumasi very well.
No, I don't. But I have a fair idea.
Okay.
Maybe you go to Noda Hotel. Noda Hotel at Ejisu is where I sleep at when I go on the Heritage Caravan.
Very good.
I know they don't collect
night there before. And so they will also take around between 800 and 1,000, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. But,
so
as a chief, you have royalties, you have small coins, you get palace fees and things. You know, you sell land, so you're fine. You're rich already.
Thank you that you are going there. When I started, I said the companies are not the royalty, assuming that every quarter the BNA mines pays $1 million of in royalties. Government takes 900,000. So we are left with 100,000. The 100,000 as the city of Sula take 10%, which is 10,000. We are left with 90,000. Of the 90,000, the municipal disassembly takes 55%, which is about 550. So the chief and the people and everyone others tools under him, they take $40,500 multiplied by the current rate. What can they use the money for? Even water supplied in the palaces. What can that do? So we see. But when you go to other domains, in Nigeria, they pay royalty to keep of about 30%. In Congo, it's 35%. Nevada, the USA, Las Vegas area, they take everything and then government taxes them. In Russia, I am not advocating for government giving everything to Nananum and their people. But you see, a lot of people are suffering. They are losing their lands. The degradation, the environment, which is affected. And these people are not benefiting from the resources that nature has endowed them. So it is not becomes a curse for any area to have mineral royalty or something. And again, how many chiefs also even have mining in their areas? How many? I am lucky, but I'm not benefiting from it. I'm lucky. I have 4 mining companies. I wish you could come one day and go to Awaso, where bauxite has been mined there for more than 80 years. And their roads are not paved. They don't have good drinking water, no good hospital. These are our concerns.
Sorry about that, Nana. But thank you so much for speaking to us.
No, it's not so about me, but about the people. Why should it be a case? Go to Bolga area where they are now doing mining. Go and find out how that mining is happening, impacting on the people, on their lives. Go to this place, Takwa, between Umat and Abosi Junction. It takes you around 2 hours. Why? 2 good hours. Go to Abosi. Gold has been mined on Abosi since 1890 or something. Go to Konongo and all these areas.
Thank you.
I think you, the media, too, must understand that and come to our aid.
Nana, give us
I'm
land.
not talking about the kids.
Nana,
but the people,
Nana,
in
give us
whose
land.
areas we have these mining companies.
Nana, I'm saying if you give us land, we'll talk for you. Give us a media land, we'll talk for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you too for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. That's Nana Ojiahohoya JB the second. He's president of the National House of Chiefs. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. Hawa?
Now, illegal mining activity has surged directly behind the Chibi office of environmental NGO Aroch Ghana in the Iboaka South municipality of the Eastern region. The activity has destroyed more than 50 acres of land and placing nearby structures at risk of collapse. Speaking after touring mining site in Chibi, the European Union ambassador to Ghana, Rune Skinback, said the bloc is ready to support Ghana's efforts to tackle illegal mining.
Doing a multitude of things in Ghana. We are partnering in Ghana in a series of areas, certainly in development cooperation, also in security and defense, and we are very willing to partner with Ghana on the Galamsey file also. We are involved or protection against Galamsey through a number of projects, but we are certainly willing to do more, but together with government. Everything we do is in coordination with government, and also the fight against Galamsey would be in coordination with government. I think it's important to have a dialogue. I think it's important to increase and encourage responsibilization. Time will show if it's enough to ensure sustainability. Time will show if the enforcement that has to go along with such a framework is happening.
European Union Ambassador to Ghana, Rune Skinback.
This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. We have Point Blank coming up next, but before then, we have business news from the Citi Business Desk. Stay with us.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Electrical say to me. Nancy no ma ye wo. Every time man focus so fake na begum. Yeah. It's time on motor cables ah. Ehwo na hwa. No ma scan. Check the cables no. Or your Nexus cable metal. One low smoke anti-counterfeit cables ni bia. So nye bia. Munto da. E dey na ma we use sa cables na. E ma ni dem suronko. Low smoke anti-counterfeit cables ah. E we me che there. Certificate cables anya papa wire dan na se jeto ma. Open whistle p yi toxic ah. No me je no so huwa. Ono ponko table to me. Na say use low smoke anti-counterfeit cable ah. O meja ni nshwo. Whistle ka kribi no ba. Enti atriyanche bi to na jada numa. Ehwanyim. Low smoke anti-counterfeit cables ya. Etwa. Ehwo na hwa. Ebotuma scan. Na check there. So your original ah. Offer Nexus cable metal. Nexus cable metal low smoke anti-counterfeit cable. Ya sashe. Na ya jadu bi there. Oni nyi Ghana cable ah. Okwa kwesi yan that.
Nexus cable metal. Electricity no get leg. The Nexus cable metal cable they carry up.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
Get the details. Every significant financial transaction, every market movement, and all the policies that affect your business. Citi Business News. Be informed.
Time now for Citi Business News on Eyewitness News. Hawa Idrisu Mustafa. Details now. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has backed government temporary fuel relief measure, describing it as a regulatory adjustment rather than a subsidy. The policy has drawn close attention from market players, given Ghana's long-standing sensitivity to fuel pricing and its wider impact on inflation and transport costs. Speaking at a press briefing after concluding a staff-level agreement with Ghana, IMF Mission Chief to Ghana, Ruben Antoyan, said the measure aligns with IMF recommendations and carries no direct fiscal costs.
We confirm there are zero costs currently to the budget, because it's not a subsidy, it's an adjustment of the regulatory margin. It's not part of the domestic revenue pool. So it's a separate type of expense. So this was a temporary measure. The government introduced it only temporarily, which is very much in line with our advice. We don't want the measures which are introduced and then sticking there, because it's very difficult to remove that. It's going to be automatically removed when as planned. So overall, we supported the decision, but of course the risks are still there. The commodity prices are still volatile. Middle East conflict is still ongoing, and therefore the volatility of fuel prices is still there and a risk factor going forward. If there's any additional support going forward, then we would recommend to do that through well-targeted subsidies, which are income-based and merit-based, and reduces the drain and allocates on public resources and allocates these resources only to those who really need the support.
Ruben Atoyan is IMF Mission Chief to Ghana. The Ministry of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry has imposed a 10-year ban on the export of raw natural rubber with immediate effect. The decision, signed by Sector Minister Elizabeth Ofosu-Adjare, follows a cabinet directive and discussions under the Accelerated Export Development Program at the Office of the President. The ban is intended to ensure local industries have enough raw rubber for processing and to promote value addition, industrial growth and job creation. It also forms part of broader government initiatives such as the Feed the Industry Agenda and the 24-Hour Economy Program. Now, Ghanaians have been urged to strengthen their financial planning and long-term savings habit in the face of ongoing concerns about financial vulnerability. Group Chief Executive of Old Mutual, Roy Nongwe, observed that many individuals continue to make financial decisions without adequate information, underscoring the need for financial institutions to invest more resources in public education. He also identified limited access to financial advisors as a significant challenge, emphasizing the importance of properly training advisors to prevent misinformation.
We still have a lot of work to do in terms of financial education side. I think it is a journey that we need to still travel. We need to invest in terms of time and resources, in terms of educating the public, because you have a lot of people who are making financial decisions without all that information. So as Old Mutual, we want to invest our time in terms of pushing the financial education, educating the consumer in terms of the options that are available to them. I think that's number one. The other thing is around having access to financial advisors. So that's something that we want to work on. I think it's also important to make sure that we educate and we train our financial advisors well, so that they give the right advice. So there's also a trust gap that we need to close from that standpoint, because you don't want financial advisors there misinforming or misadvising the consumer. So that's also something that we definitely need to continue working on. We need, of course, a lot more financial advisors so that we can reach a lot more consumers. One of the things that I picked up was one of the testimonies that was given. One of the people we engaged with, they also felt that financial advisors often they talk to people who have money. So I think that's a gap that we need to close out.
Group Chief Executive of Old Mutual, Roy Punongwe, ending City Business News on Eyewitness News. I am Hawa Idrisu Mustafa. Up next is Point Blank.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Je m'appelle.
Je m'appelle.
Je m'appelle.
Mappe. Et mappe. Hey, Asamo. French idiot. This is a midi croissant.
Meet Aja. She makes sobolo in a small shop in Kaswa. She's going places with MTN Ejumapa. Now, she's learning French kakra to teach her francophone customers indigenous recipes.
Watashi no namae wa.
Watashi no namae. Boy.
Whoa. She's learning Japanese too? Watashi. What? If you're a woman with a small business, join MTN Ejumapa today by dialing *5060# and enjoy 150 megabytes data, a lifestyle bundle for social media, free MTN to MTN calls every Monday, and an insurance cover. You will also gain access to expert training, discounts on digital tools, and financial support to grow the business of your dreams. Terms and conditions apply. MTN.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/City97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/City973, and Instagram at instagram.com/City973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
This is Point Blank on Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. On Point Blank tonight, we are hearing from the President John Dramani Mahama He has directed the local government minister to establish a framework for periodic meetings between traditional rulers and district assemblies to review government projects and infrastructure development. The directive follows a proposal by the Northern Regional House of Chiefs for traditional authorities to be involved in monitoring development projects. According to President Mahama, closer collaboration between chiefs and district assemblies will strengthen accountability and improve project supervision. He was speaking when the Northern Regional House of Chiefs paid a courtesy call on him at the Jubilee House in Accra. Let's listen to President Mahama.
Today's interaction has demonstrated statesmanship, it has demonstrated foresight, and an uncommon commitment to partnership in national development. Indeed, as my father, Bimbilana, said, you come just not to make requests, but to extend the hand of partnership to government in successfully administering this country and creating prosperity and progress for our people. As you said, you did not merely come to present requests, you came with proposals for collaboration, shared responsibility, and co-ownership of development outcomes. And that spirit you came with deserves commendation. I thank you very much. I've listened carefully to your message, and I wish to assure you that this government recognizes the indispensable role of traditional authority in nation building. For far too long, governments across Africa have underutilized one of the continent's most enduring institutions, that is traditional leadership. And yet, chiefs are the ones who remain closest to the people. You understand the local realities, and you command legitimacy that is rooted in history, culture, and trust. You possess conflict resolution mechanisms that have been refined over centuries, and most importantly, your mechanisms, most importantly, you remain custodians of the social cohesion upon which development depends. Indeed, no government can successfully implement its development agenda in our communities without the cooperation and partnership of the traditional authorities. Your Royal Highnesses, your proposition that government must move from occasional consultations with you to a structured partnership is both timely and necessary, and I fully agree with you. Under our national reset agenda, we're seeking a governance model that is participatory, accountable, decentralized, and people-centered. Traditional authorities are critical to achieving this vision. I therefore welcome your commitments in the area of project monitoring, social mobilization, educational advocacy, conflict prevention, environmental protection, and community accountability. Indeed, just yesterday, Cabinet was meeting to consider government's response to the Constitutional Review Committee report. We didn't get to the aspect of chieftaincy, but I'm anxious to see what amendments have been put there, because before the whole process started, I had advocated that the National House of Chiefs should make representation so that it will be captured in the amendments to the Constitution to give chiefs a greater role in terms of local administration. And so this, your presentation is very timely. It will guide Cabinet when we look at the Constitutional Review Implementation Committee report. Your proposals for joint monitoring of development projects is particularly important. One of the greatest frustrations of our people is the gap between projects that are announced and projects that are completed, between funds allocated and value delivered. If chiefs and community leaders become active partners in monitoring mechanisms, monitoring implementation, we will significantly improve transparency, accountability, and quality assurance. And I'm sure that this is something we can work on together with the local administration, that is the district assemblies, that traditional rulers and district assemblies together occasionally meet to review the progress of work on development programs within your traditional areas and within the district. I'm therefore directing the Minister for Local Government, and the Minister is here, to create a framework where traditional rulers and district assemblies can meet occasionally to review the progress of work on critical infrastructure that government is undertaking in your various traditional areas and districts. There should be regular coordination meetings, project monitoring mechanisms where the district assemblies, district chief executives, and the traditional rulers physically go to the site of development projects to review the state of work and monitor the progress. There should be designated liaison arrangements as proposed by Your Royal Majesty. Only a few weeks ago, during my accounting to the people tour of the Northern region, I had the opportunity to engage directly with communities across the region. I visited development projects, I listened to concerns from chiefs, youth, farmers, traders, religious leaders, and ordinary citizens. And I witnessed both the immense potential and the pressing development needs of the region. The Northern region remains central to Ghana's transformation agenda. The region is strategically positioned to become a major agricultural production hub under the 24-hour economy initiative and the accelerated export development program, a center for agro-processing and agribusiness, a logistics and trade corridor for the Sahel, and a key driver of food security and exports. And this is not something new, because we all know when we were growing up that Head of State Ike Achampong came to the Northern region on an inspection tour, and he gave the Northern region the title of the Granary of Ghana, because food production and commercial agriculture and agro-processing was the highest in the Northern region. All of us growing up knew Mensilo Rice Factory, we knew the vegetable oil mills, we knew the Tiger Pito Factory, we knew the Nasia Rice Factory and all that. And these all contributed to food security in Ghana. And so we want to capture that vision again. And one of the major investments we're going to make in the program that is taking over from the extended credit facility that has just ended today, and today you've come at a very auspicious occasion because we've concluded the IMF program. And we're moving into the policy coordinating instruments. And in the policy coordinating instrument, we're creating space for the investment of 1% of GDP in key areas. And one of the areas that has been identified is commercial agriculture. And the Northern region has vast arable lands to host large-scale agriculture. And so Northern region will be one of the main beneficiaries, including agro-processing and agribusiness. And so this is why our government is prioritizing investment in roads, irrigation, education, healthcare, energy access, and local industrialization across the Northern region. Work is already progressing on critical road corridors, including rehabilitation and upgrading of trunk roads, linking farming communities to markets. We're expanding rural electrification and investing in water systems. Indeed, just to mention a few of the projects that we are undertaking, these would include already the 300 transformer replacement program that I visited when I went to the Northern region. It is well underway, and you'll find that in many of your communities, the old transformers are being taken off and new higher capacity transformers are being replaced. Aside from that, we have signed the agreement, and the Ministry of Education will soon start the Star J project. This is going to be investment in the education sector, especially the secondary school sector, so that we end the double track system. Because we've set a target that by the end of 2027, no school in Ghana should be running double track. And so we're going to expand classrooms, lecture halls, dormitory blocks in existing schools in order that we can accommodate as many students as possible. This will also include improving Category B schools into Category A, and then Category C schools into Category B, so that our children can have better learning outcomes in the various schools. And so that's a project we're going to begin. With the Agenda 111 hospitals, I don't think it was a very prudent idea to start 111 hospitals at the same time. At least they should have been phased out, but some are at foundation level. Even some of them, people took the mobilization and never went to site. IOCO is going after them. But what government has decided is that 35 that were almost near completion, government this year is going to put money in and continue them and complete them. And then adequate provision will be made in the next budget to clear another batch of them. But we're also inviting the faith-based organizations that run hospitals to adopt some of the hospitals that they think they can complete and bring into operation. And so that is going on. We also, as Your Royal Highness mentioned, are building a new cardio center in the Tamale Teaching Hospital. In the whole of the 5 northern regions, there is no cardio center. And so any persons who had strokes or heart attacks or any cardiac incident had to either come to Kumasi or Accra for treatment at great cost to themselves and their family. And so we're citing a new cardio center in Tamale so that it will serve the entire 5 northern regions for people who have cardiovascular diseases. As for roads, you can see the contractors working already in many areas. This is the first batch of the big push. There's a second batch that we are bringing on stream. And so if your road is not being worked on yet, it doesn't mean that we're not coming there. We'll soon award them on contract, and you'll find contractors working on them. 2 other important projects we're about to start. We're moving to the procurement stages, the Tamale water system and the Yendi water system. With the Tamale water system, the intention is to build a new pumping station at Yape on the White Volta and produce about 30 million gallons of water for the Tamale metropolis. Yendi would also have a new pumping station on the River Daka to produce fresh water for Yendi. There are other small town water systems that are going to happen that I cannot mention all of them. So we're working under the Feed Ghana program also and the broader agricultural transformation strategy to scale up support for farmers through mechanization services, irrigation expansion, improved seed distribution, and aggregation systems to support commercial agriculture. This involves the setting up of farmers service centers. I've spoken about these service centers many times. The northern region is going to get its fair share of the centers. And in these farmer service centers, we're going to have all the agricultural equipment for commercial agriculture. And so farmers who want to engage in agriculture can go and register at the center. You'll be provided with plowing services, harrowing, planting of your seed, boom sprayers to spray your chemicals and all that. And there'll be combined harvesters for maize, for rice. And so when it's time to harvest, you go to your center and they'll come with the machine and harvest your rice or your maize for you. They'll also have storage facilities. And so if you're not yet ready to store, to sell your product, they will have a dryer. They'll dry your maize or your rice, and then they'll store it. Whenever you're ready to send it to the market, you come, they'll bag it for you, and you take your product to the market. As president, I fully appreciate the importance of lasting peace in Bimbilla, not only for the affected communities, but for regional stability and development. Government remains committed to working with the National House of Chiefs, the Northern Regional House of Chiefs, security agencies, and all relevant stakeholders to ensure that lawful processes and settled decisions are respected and implemented in a manner that promotes peace, reconciliation, and stability. And so let me assure you, Your Royal Highness, that we'll continue to pursue dialogue, reconciliation, and sustainable peace-building efforts in the Nanum area. Peace is the first infrastructure of development. Without peace, roads, schools, hospitals, and investments cannot flourish. I also fully agree that the Secretariat of the Northern Regional House of Chiefs is not merely an administrative structure, but an important institutional facility deserving of completion. Traditional institutions must be accorded the dignity and operational support necessary for them to perform their constitutional and development responsibilities effectively. I've therefore taken note of your request regarding the completion and furnishing of the Secretariat building, and I'll ask the relevant ministries and agencies to review the project status and provide government with an implementation roadmap towards its speedy completion. Your Royal Highness, your concerns regarding mental health and substance abuse are deeply valid and timely. The growing drug abuse crisis amongst our youth requires urgent national attention. The abuse of tramadol and other narcotic substances is destroying lives, is destabilizing families, and is undermining community security. Mental health can no longer remain a neglected area of public policy. And I urge our traditional leaders to become involved in the fight against drug abuse. I believe that in your traditional areas, if you work with the youth groups and the police force and set up task forces to identify the distributors, the users are the victims. And so there's no need attacking somebody who uses it and beating him. He is a victim of those who profit from the drug trade. And so we know these people live amongst us. They take delivery of bulk supplies of tramadol and they sell them to our children. We must identify these people and root them out so that we can stop the supply of these drugs within our traditional areas. And so I call on the chiefs to work with the youth groups in your traditional areas and the Ghana Police Service so that we can identify those who are responsible for the supply of these narcotic drugs and deal with them. The completion of the psychiatric hospital in Myon is therefore an important intervention, not only for the northern region, but for all the 5 northern regions. There's no psychiatric hospital in all the 5 northern regions, and so this is a government priority. I've asked the Minister for Health to review the current status of the project, including funding, staffing requirements, and operational needs, with a view to prioritizing its completion. But as you rightly noted, infrastructure alone is not enough. Community sensitization, early intervention, stigma reduction, and rehabilitation support are equally important.
So that's President John Dramani Mahama speaking during an interaction with the Northern Regional House of Chiefs. They paid a courtesy call on him today at the Jubilee House. Before we go, there's an announcement from government. It has to do with the energy sector. There's a statement by the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition. It's titled, Government Continues Intervention to Cushion Consumers at the Pumps. The statement reads, following a cabinet meeting chaired by His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, government reviewed developments on the international petroleum market and approved a temporary measure aimed at cushioning consumers from rising fuel prices. The government made a temporary intervention in the pricing of petroleum products effective 16th April 2026 by absorbing 2 cedis per litre on the price of diesel and 36 pesos per litre on petrol. The intervention was intended to remain in force for the month ending 15th May 2026 to cushion consumers from the impact of rising global prices driven by geopolitical tensions. Following the latest review, government has decided to intervene in the price of diesel by absorbing 1 cedi 7 pesos per litre effective 16th May 2026. The decision is necessary to ensure sustainable distribution of petroleum products across the country while continuing to provide relief to consumers. The intervention is expected to last for a period of 2 pricing windows, subject to review, And this is a statement signed by Richmond Roxon Esquire, who is spokesperson and head of communication for the Ministry of Energy and Green Transitions. And that's how we end tonight's edition of Eyewitness News, which came to you from our studios in Accra. I am Umaru Sanda Amado. I did this with Hawa Idrisu Mustafa, produced by Beverly London, Juliana Odami Asari, Sami Wiafe, Fretete Jabano, and Kobina Wilson. The technical support from Emmanuel Lati, and the new media support from Edwin Kwakofi and the new media team. If you want more news and current affairs, tune in to Channel 1 TV at 8 p.m. tonight. Nana Tufo Boatino will be bringing you CNR, that's Channel 1 Newsroom. And tomorrow at 9 a.m. on Channel 1 Television and on 97.3 Citi FM, I will be bringing you The Big Issue, where we do analysis of the big stories of the week. But up next is the biggest sports program in the Western Hemisphere. And it's to be hosted by Gabi Milito. He has another nickname that I cannot mention in public. He'll be hosting a team from the City Sports. Stay with us. Enjoy your weekend. See you on Monday, God willing.
City